All right, we will go ahead and get started. Just so everyone is aware, we are recording this session, but since it is a webinar, all you'll be able to see are going to be the panelists and the presentation. But to kick us off, I am very excited to have you all here today. We have a wonderful audience. We have wonderful speakers here. We are thrilled that you have been admitted to Texas A&M University, and we know that you have until May 1st to make your decision, but we hope that you select us and that you are looking forward to joining the Aggie community and the Aggie family. We definitely look forward to seeing you this summer. But I do want to start off with introducing our session and what we are all here for today to make sure that everybody is in the right place. This is our Ready, Set, Register Placement Exam session. And this is being hosted by Student Life, New Student Family Programs, but we also have several representatives across the university here that are going to be important steps that you need to take in your journey to Texas A&M to be able to get to your first day of classes, which I know feels like a lifetime away, but it is going to go by quickly. So today we're just going to provide some information about the various placement exams that you may be expected to take during your transition to Texas A&M. We have a lot of them for you to choose from. Some of them are going to be required. Some of them are going to be optional. For example, like foreign language placement exam, the only way that you have to take that is if you are enrolling in foreign language courses. But all students are going to be taking the math placement exam on the other hand. So we have great representatives here from each of these different areas to talk about the math placement exam, the foreign language placement exam, the Texas Success Initiative, and the chemistry prep modules. We have our panelists here that will do a brief overview of this, but we really want to spend some time digging into what are your burning questions, and then we'll present some of those burning questions to the grander audience. If they are not so specific to your individual situation, but they apply to a great deal of students. But we also want to provide the opportunity to answer any questions that you might have in preparing for this process. So we do have some great resources here. To start off, I do want to introduce myself though. My name is Olivia Elliott. I work with Student Life in the Office of New Student and Family Programs, and you will see me over the summer with new student conferences. So I will turn it over to Allie next.
Howdy, my name is Dr. Allie Foran. I'm a faculty member in the math department and also the coordinator for the math placement exam. And I'm going to pass it to Alicia.
Howdy, I'm Alicia Altmas. I am the professor in the chemistry department, and I'm the coordinator for the chemistry prep modules. I'll pass it on to Anna.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Anna Elliott. I'm from the Academic Success Center, and I'm the TSI Administrator, Texas Success Initiative. And I go ahead and pass it over to Chantal.
Howdy, everyone. I'm Chantel Batten-Utley. I'm a regional advisor here at Texas A&M based in Nashville. So big shout out and hello to every out-of-state student here to answer any general admissions questions that you may have. So looking forward to learning more this evening, and thanks again for joining. And I'll pass it over to Corey.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Corey Ritter. I am the communications coordinator with New Student and Family Programs, and I am going to be helping out with the Q&A and chat here today.
So as we move forward, we do want to set some groundwork for what this chat experience will look like. So I have a slide that Corey will cover with a lot of great information about how you can navigate the Zoom platform if you happen to be unfamiliar. But I have a sense that a lot of us know how a lot of these things work.
Yeah, so like Olivia said, this is set up as a Zoom webinar, so there's some limitations to the access that y'all will have. You will not have access to your camera during the session or your microphone. We'll use the Q&A feature to ask any questions. So if you have a question, drop it into that Q&A at the bottom. We'll answer those live or in the chat. You won't have access to your microphone during the session. But that chat function, if you need to make the presenters aware of something or talk to the moderators, feel free to use that, but don't drop any questions in there. We'll be using the Q&A feature for all of our questions this evening. In addition, this session will is being recorded and will also be posted on our website at newaggie.tamu.edu.
Perfect. Thank you, Corey. To kick us off, I do want to introduce back our speaker about the Texas Success Initiative. So I will give it over to Anna to present her information, and then just tell me when you need me to change the slide.
You can go ahead. So the Texas Success Initiative, or the TSI, is a state mandated program that ensures that all incoming college freshmen are ready for college level reading, writing, and math. It's less known, one of the lesser known exams, but with the coronavirus pandemic and all those things, it's becoming more prevalent. And basically, the most important part from this slide is that if you do not submit TSI scores or other exempting documentation before the new student conference, you will not be able to register for courses. You'll have the BT hold. You need to come see me during check-in in order to get the process going, to get it resolved. But the most important thing is to submit your documentation, SAT scores, anything like that, official transcripts, the AccuPlacer TSI scores, 2 weeks before the new student conference. You can go with the next slide. So the most common exemptions that I see are the SAT and the ACT scores. For the SAT, you will need a 530 for the math TSI exemption, and then for the reading and writing TSI exemptions, you'll need a 480 on the evidence-based reading and writing. For these, the scores, you just send them through College Board directly to Texas A&M. For the ACT scores, there are two different criteria, and the old criteria will go away in 2028. But since students have tested before 2023, there's different criteria based on when you tested. So if you tested before February 15th, 2023, you must first achieve a 23 composite score on your exam and then a 19 for the math in conjunction with the composite score for the math TSI requirement to be exempt, and then for the reading and writing requirement to be exempt, there has to be a 19 on the English section with the composite score of a 23. After February 15, 2023, they did away with the composite score requirements, and it's just a combined score of 40 when you add up the English and reading ACT scores in order to be accepted for the reading and writing requirements, and then a score in the 22 on the math ACT to be exempt for the math requirement. Other common exemptions include an associate's or bachelor's degree. I know some students are coming in from early colleges, so that will be an exemption in itself. Exempting college courses, math classes, English classes, history, stuff like that. If you are a military veteran or in the reserves, not just signed up for the Army camp or for the training, actually be in the reserves, an active member of the armed forces or the Texas College Bridge have the exemption, and I'll go over that in a little bit in the next slide. So the Texas College Bridge is a fairly new initiative that we started. All certificates must be sent via Greenlight credentials to the email on the screen, annatbias@tamu.edu. The criteria in order to, so you are not TSI complete with the bridge certificate. You just have a waiver to not have to complete the classes with our TSI support course, which is mandatory. So in order to have this exemption and be TSI complete, you will have to enroll in the exempting course, whether that be a math course or a statistics course or an English course for reading and writing. And then for a history would be just for reading. You must enroll in one of those courses within the first year, and you have 2 years within attending Texas A&M to complete the courses successfully with a C or better. Just in case you fail a course, you have an additional semester, semesters to get that completed. And if you don't successfully complete the exempting courses before those 2 years, you will be automatically enrolled into the TSI courses over at Texas A&M that are state required, as the TSI is a state legislative mandate.
Okay.
And then if for some reason none of the exemptions fit the your issue, you don't have passing SAT, passing ACT, or anything like that, the last option is taking the TSI exam. There are also different criteria because in 2021 changes were made to the exam. So prior to 2021, for the math, you will have to get a score of 350 or higher in order to pass. And then after that, the scoring changes a little bit. After January 11th, it'll be a score of a 950. Or if you receive a score of a 950 below, a diagnostic level of 6. Whenever you do not meet the requirements, there is an accompanying diagnostic score. So if that accompanying score is a 6, then you are complete and you do not have to retest again. But if it's not a 6, then you are not TSI complete and you still have to keep retesting in order to be complete. For the reading and writing TSI requirements, before it was 2 separate tests. So this is why they had to, they made a new one. So before 2021, the reading exam, you have to have a 351 plus, or you have to retest. And then for the writing test, you have to have a place. So there was a multiple choice and an essay section. You have to have a multiple choice section of at least a 340 and an essay score of at least a 4. Or if you scored less than a 340, a diagnostic score of a 4 and an essay score of at least a 5. With the new information, with the new testing after 2021, it'll be a score of 945 in the multiple choice section and then a 5 for the essay. And then if you score below a 945 on the multiple choice section, it'll be a score below 945, a diagnostic level of 5 plus, and an essay of at least a 5 as well. And for the exam after 2021, it'll be both for the reading and writing sections. You don't have to complete 2 exams, but you do have to meet both of the exam criteria to pass both of the requirements. Just because you pass the SC section does not mean that you pass the writing section. And just because you pass the multiple choice section does not mean that you pass the reading section. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the Q&A, but I'll be here to answer anything that you guys need.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As Anna mentioned, please post your questions in the chat as we go along. You do not have to wait to hear all of the information before asking questions. But we will hold until the end to answer questions as a giant group, or we will answer your questions individually in the chat if you're asking about your specific situation. Next, we have our math placement exam that we'll talk about.
Howdy, thanks, Olivia. So part of the math placement exam, it's important to know just what it is in general. We require all incoming freshmen to take the math placement exam, which helps determine for us, all incoming freshmen and some transfer students. It helps for us to determine which math course is best for you to start in. So you can learn more about just the literal process of taking it by going to the link that's on the screen. But who is taking it? The main question we get in our office is, suppose you're an incoming freshman, but you're taking dual credit or you're taking an AP exam and you're going to come in with some credits on your transcript. We do still require for all incoming freshmen to take the exam because it helps us get a good marker of how well prepared you are to start in a calculus course, no matter what your major is. So on that note, if you are coming in as a transfer students do not have to take the math placement exam unless they plan to take one of our calculus courses. Those are all the ones listed on the screen. So Math 151, 171, 147, and 142 are all Calculus 1 courses through our math department. And then the other caveat is if you are planning to take a calculus course and have not yet passed the equivalent of Math 140 or the equivalent of Math 150. And we have on our website different ways that you can look up. Maybe you've taken, as a transfer student, you've taken it at a community college or somewhere else that has a different numbering system. You can see if those are equivalent there. Now, I know that maybe you're thinking, I don't even know which math placement exam I'm supposed to take. If you look at your degree plan, you can look on our course catalog and find your degree program, and it will list specifically the math courses that are either required or recommended within your department. Once you see those, that will help you decide which math placement exam to take, which I will get to in just a second. But just to know what courses in general are required for you, every student at A&M has to take at least 2 math courses. So we do expect almost everyone to come in to be taking math courses with us or transferring them in. As of this January, we are now offering the math placement exam fully online through Canvas. That means that you actually do not have to register for it. It's going to be fully implemented into your Canvas dashboard. And once you log in, you will see it listed once it's available. A lot of people, I'm getting a lot of emails just saying it's not available to them. It is going to be available at in a certain time frame, and I'll mention that in just a second. But once it's available, you can find it through the Canvas website. It's fully proctored through AI, so you don't have to sign up for a certain time to take it. You can take it at 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't care. You can take it at your own convenience. And then once you're finished, that will be synced into our system. So we ask you to complete it at least 1 attempt before you come to your new student conference. That's why we give you that month before your new student conference to take it, because you will have trouble registering for your courses if you haven't taken it yet. You'll have a hold on your account actually saying that you haven't completed the MPE, and you won't be able to register for a math course. So we do need you to take it at least once. If you end up failing it, there will be a chance for you to take it again, and we'll talk about that in a second, in just a second as well. But for your first attempt, you need to take it before your new student conference. If you're worried about being prepared, we have an incredible website called the Virtual Math Learning Center. The link is there. It's Virtual Math Learning Center, so vmlc.tamu.edu. There's a link at the top of that page that says MPE, and once you know which of the MPEs you need to take, you can click on questions and see lots of practice problems to get you ready for the exam. All right, so then taking it. So I did mention it will be available to you 1 month before your new student conference. You'll get an email from me, or probably, I don't know if it says it's from me, but it will be from me that will say, hey, your MPE is available. Here's a link. Here's what you're going to go through the process. Here's some resources for you before you take it, and kind of an idea of how to access everything. Your first attempt needs to be completed before your new student conference, but you will get at least 1 more attempt for the rest of the summer, and those will all be open, or I'm so sorry, not specifically summer. The second attempt will be open until whatever your first day of class is. So if you are starting in a summer semester, that would be May 27th or July 2nd. If you're starting in the fall semester, you have until August 25th to take your second attempt. So once those second attempts are synced into our system, it will release any sort of holds that it has for you to take a calculus course. As an additional note here at the bottom, if you do have any accommodations for testing, those do need to be set up separately through disability resources. I unfortunately have no power to do anything with those, but once we get the notification from disability resources that accommodations have been set up, then we will set them up in our system as well so that you're prepared to take your exam. All right, now here's the big one. So what is the math placement exam? So we have 2 versions. They each have 33 questions, and they're each 90 minutes long, and they are all proctored online. So the tan bar across the top, everything has that in common. 2 versions, 33 questions, 90 minutes proctored online. We have seen through the process of tracking people through their math classes that it actually does, the score that you get on the MPE does kind of matter differently for each exam. So if you are planning to take Math 151, 171, or 147, so those are most of our STEM majors, our engineering majors, our math majors, our biology majors, lots of other lists. I could go on forever. But again, if you look at your degree plan and you see that you need Math 151, 171, or 147, then you need to take MPE 1. We have found that if students make a score of 22 or greater on that exam, that they are well prepared to take Calculus 1. So this is Calculus 1 with trigonometry in it for all 3 of those versions. The questions will cover a lot of material. And again, that Virtual Math Learning Center will have links for you to practice those problems. Now you do get 1 retake on MPE 1. You will be required to wait 2 weeks in between. So I know that that means for some of you, you will take your first attempt. You will want to take a second attempt, but maybe it falls after your new student conference. That doesn't hurt anything. You can take it after your new student conference and still change your schedule and register for whatever calculus class you need. but you will be held on campus. It's an automatic 2-week waiting period. You'll be held 2 weeks until you can try again. The first attempt will be totally removed. We won't even acknowledge that it ever existed. Your second attempt will be the one that counts and will get you access, if you pass, into whichever of those calculus courses you need. If you don't pass either of them, that Math 150 course I talked about earlier is our course that's kind of our preparation course for all 3 of these calculus courses. So if you don't get that 22 score on either of your attempts, you will be required to enroll in Math 150, and then you'll be able to work through that course and then enroll in 151, 171, or 147 after that. All right, pausing so you can soak in for MPE 1. MPE 2 is for anyone who's going to take Math 142. So this one we have found that students who get an 18 or greater tend to be successful in Math 142. So we have a little bit of a lower standard. It's just because there's different content on here. The test was written differently, and we've tracked and seen that an 18 is the magical number that helps people feel prepared for their calculus course in 142. If you do need a retake, the 142 track gets you 2 attempts to retake. That is again based on how we've seen multiple attempts working out in terms of longitudinal data. So you will be required to wait the 2 weeks. You will wait 2 weeks in between both attempts. So if you wait 2 weeks and take your second attempt, wait 2 weeks and take your third attempt. Hopefully you will be able to pass before that, but just in case you need it, you will have to wait 2 weeks in between each attempt. And again, the same as the MPE 1, as soon as you get your score, the highest score will be used for placement purposes. We won't even acknowledge that anything else existed, and you will be ready to take 142. If you do not pass the MPE 2, you will be placed in Math 140. So a lot of degree plans, if you look, will require Math 140 and 142. So you can just know that those are 2 classes that you'll need to take anyway, versus some of them allow a little bit more flexibility. So you may take 142 and one of our other math courses for your second course. And I think that's everything I have.
Perfect, thank you. And then I'll turn it over to Alicia for our chemistry prep module.
All right, howdy. So the chemistry prep module is a prep module for the life science version of general chemistry. We actually have 2 versions of first semester general chemistry. This is for Chem 119. I will talk about the prerequisite for Chem 107, our other option, in a couple slides. So the prep module is for Chem 119, and it aims to ensure that students have the skills necessary to succeed in their entry-level chemistry coursework. So the chemistry prep module is primarily an algebra tutorial, I would say. It's algebra-based mathematics skills with a handful of very introductory chemistry content. Each student will begin the module by completing an initial assessment. Unlike the MPE, the score on your pretest for the chemistry prep module does not matter. But students should try your best because depending on your score from that pretest, you'll only be required to complete further tutorials on the topics that you missed. So on that note, it could take longer than the 90 minutes of the MPE because it has a tutorial portion. Once you've completed all those tutorials, you'll and earned a 90% of the required content, which will be very obvious for you to see on the module that you've reached 90%. Whether that's from the initial assessment or from the subsequent tutorials, that's when you'll be considered ready to enroll in Chem 119. That 90% is our benchmark. So who should complete the chemistry prep module? Any student that's required to take Chem 119 should complete the chemistry prep module, including students that think that they may or may not have to, like if you think there's any possible chance that you need to take general chemistry, it's suggested to complete the CPM. So the prep module, this is going to go like Ali said, for the math placement exam. This is going to go for pretty much all of our science courses, which also includes, regardless of major, the pre-professional tracks. So pre-med, pre-vet, pre-nursing, pre-dental. even if you're a, psychology major, if you're in one of those pre-professional tracks, you'll want to take the CPM, and other science courses like nutrition, animal science, a whole list, with a couple of engineering majors. So advisors tend to suggest that chemical engineering, biomedical engineering, and material science engineering, if you are interested in those 3 tracks, they are also suggested to take Chem 119. Anyone else in general engineering, as well as physics majors and geophysics majors, will take chemistry, but they will take Chem 107 and 117 instead, which does not require the CPM, the chemistry prep module. Instead, you need that score of a 22 plus on the MPE to get into Chem 107 and 117. Just a little bit more information about our chemistry prep module. This one is not proctored. It is self-paced. You can complete it in one sitting or multiple sittings. It's free of charge. There's no registration hold for this one, though we are expecting that you complete the prep module before your NSC if you plan to enroll in Chem 119. Students are encouraged to use a calculator, and you can use all the resources in the module. If you wanted some extra resources prior to the initial assessment, we also have some video resources that can be provided. Like I said, since it's not strictly a test, it does take a little bit longer. The median time to complete the module to 90% has been shown to be about 4.8 hours. But that data is limited. We're still working on completing some more of that data. So for any incoming freshmen and transfer students that are planning to register for Chem 119, you should complete the prep module to 90% before NSC. And we are actually encouraging that you complete it at least a day before your NSC to make sure that your score updates in time for registration. We suggest that you start it at least 2 weeks before the NSC, so you don't have to do it all at once. And there is a link for some more information and access to the module. You'll just need your TAMU email to be able to log on. One final thing that we have a lot of questions about is if you have AP credit or dual credit. So the only way that you would not need to take the CPM is if you are going to accept that AP credit or that dual credit and enroll right into our second semester course, which is Chem 120. And on that note, professional schools like med school, vet school, nursing school, they may not accept the credit by your AP exam for courses required for admission. So many advisors will still suggest that those pre-professional students complete the CPM and take Chem 119 at Texas A&M instead of jumping right into Chem 120. And we have an email address that you can use to contact me with questions as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So the last one that we have is the foreign language placement exam. I do want to caveat this conversation with saying I am simply a liaison of information. I am no means the expert of the foreign language placement exam, and so I do throughout this presentation have the information for who you can contact with very specific questions, but I want to make sure everyone has a general overview of the foreign language placement exam. So the foreign language placement exam does not apply to everybody. We have several students that are coming to Texas A&M and you have already fulfilled the Texas requirement for foreign language, and so you don't have to take classes. However, if you are a student that is intending to enroll in a language course for the first time at Texas A&M, you already have knowledge, whether that's personal knowledge or you have taken courses through your high school, and you have no college credit in this language, then you do need to take the foreign language placement exam. So if you are a student, for example, that is looking to enroll in Spanish courses at Texas A&M and you have taken courses before, you do need to take that placement exam. If you have not taken any foreign language placement exams and are looking to earn credits at Texas A&M, you do not have to test with the exam. You can just simply enroll in the entry-level course. More or less, this is designed to understand where you are at in this process to place you in the correct courses. If you are scoring lower, then you'll be placed in the entry-level courses. If you are scoring higher, you'll be placed more advanced. But as far as the testing information, it is a 90-minute exam that is proctored online. So similar to our math placement exam. If you are taking the math placement exam, it's proctored online. However, if you are taking a foreign language placement exam, you will have to register ahead of time and pay the $30 fee online. And so this is a $30 fee per language course you are looking to take. So if you are looking to take courses in 2 different languages at Texas A&M and have prior knowledge, that would be $60. As far as scores go, your scores will be posted in Howdy. Howdy is going to more or less become your best friend as you enter Texas A&M. I do also want to say that we are going through an overhaul of Howdy for the better. And so we are continuously advancing our technology here at the institution and looking to transition over to a newly designed Howdy starting in May. So some of the information I'm providing might look a little bit different, but it's apparently supposed to be really intuitive, kind of like a search feature option like Google. But your scores will be posted within 3 to 5 days after they are received. If you are taking a written portion of the exam, it may take a bit longer, but if it's just a multiple choice, etc., it might be a little bit shorter time. You can find your scores under My Record in Howdy and under the Credit by Examination. And then this will not show you the classes that you have more or less tested out of, but it will show that no credit if you did not test out of any classes. So it will essentially tell you what you have tested into. If it says Spanish 202, you have tested into that. If it doesn't show anything, then you are entering entry level. As far as registration goes, you do need to register, pay that $30, and take the proctored exam before your new student conference. If you do not take this before your new student conference, you do run the risk of not being able to register for classes during your new student conference, specifically in that language area. And so there is not a hold associated with this, but I do want to emphasize that these are smaller classes, about 30 people or less, and so they do fill quickly. So we want to make sure that you have the ability to register at your new student conference while you are having an open time ticket. But if you do have any questions, please reach out to the email address on the screen. It is glacadvising@tamu.edu. And we can post that in the chat as well for everybody. But I do want to open it up at this point to a Q&A with our panelists. We have received a lot of questions in that Q&A, so we are excited to be able to answer some questions from all of you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and moderate this Q&A. One of the first questions I wanted to ask each of our panelists is, how does a student check that they've met the requirement for each of these? If y'all could just talk through that process.
I can talk.
Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. So you could just check on the AIS portal for the green check mark. If you have a red X, that's when there's a problem. You can also check on your Howdy dashboard for the TSI. There's a space there that's if you just search it up, TSI status, it'll say exempt or complete.
Yes, so your AIS checklist is very intuitive. I posted the link in the chat so you can see it, applicant.tamu.edu, and it has 2 sections. It has a section that is colored in maroon and it has red X's or green check marks. If you have a green check mark, it means you are good to go and you don't need to do anything further. So I know we got some questions in the chat. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about the ones that we got about TSI of, hey, I already submitted it. Do I know that it meets, etc. Check your AIS checklist and it will let you know if it's check marked green, then you are good to go. The one that won't show up in your AIS checklist is going to be our chemistry prep modules. So you need to keep track of those on your own to make sure that you are good to go and that you have completed those before your new student conference if you are registering for Chem 119.
And I'll just say for ours, for math placement exam, it takes usually a little over 24 hours for it to get processed through. Someone asked in the chat, so I'll answer for everyone. How soon will you know what your exam score is? Once you finish the exam, it's immediate. You will have a link on the side that has a grade tab, and if you click on the grade tab, it will show you what you made. It may take a while to sink into Howdy and officially check off that AIS check mark, but as long as you have completed the exam and a score is in Canvas, it will eventually check and you don't need to worry about waiting on that clearance.
So for the chemistry prep module, yes, sounds like it might be harder to see what your score is, but I promise once you got started, you would know what I mean. The prep module is housed in a program called Alex. And after you take the initial assessment, there'll be a big pie chart on your dashboard that shows you the percentage that you have for the prep module. And once you get that 90% in the big pie chart, you're done.
Awesome. So Olivia, one question we had about the foreign language placement exam is in order to take any language class, do you have to register and take the FLPE? And then in addition to that, how can a student check if they're gonna have to take a foreign language in their major?
Yeah, I'll answer the latter part of that question first, and I highly recommend all students check out the undergraduate catalog. I will post that in the chat as well, but this will outline the classes you are expected to take during your time at Texas A&M. You can get down to your individual major, and it'll outline what you're expected to take in semester 1 and semester 8. So you have everything filled in there for you to have knowledge about. Going back to who has to take it, again, it's just individuals that have prior knowledge of a language and intend to enroll in courses in that language. So if you are looking to take a minor in that language, if you are looking to, it's part of your major that you have and you have that knowledge, you'll have to take that placement exam.
Okay. We had another question. This is about the MPE. If a student is a freshman, but they've completed the math sequence required for their intended major, so they've taken Calc 1, 2, 3, linear algebra, all of those at a community college, do they still need to take the MPE?
Yes, all incoming freshmen are required to take the MPE.
Awesome. Okay. How do students submit their documentation for the TSI to Texas A&M?
So you can send your scores electronically through AccuPlacer, which is the company that makes the TSI. They are also partnered up with College Board. I'm trying to find a link here so that it shares instructions on how to send those scores because it's a little tricky. But if you just go to the AccuPlacer student portal, there should be somewhere on there on the website how to send your scores to the institution, not to an email, just directly to Texas A&M.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. So if we have no prior knowledge in a language, we can just register for a beginner's class and not take the language exam. Olivia?
Absolutely correct. If you have no knowledge and you are looking to take a class, you can enroll in the entry-level basic class for that language.
Okay. And then a follow-up question, Anna, for TSI. If a student has submitted their scores and they're not to AccuPlacer and they're not showing yet, and they did it back in January, what should they do?
They're not showing on the applicant portal.
Yes.
Then ensure you got the email from AccuPlacer saying that they sent over the scores, because for some reason or another they might have not sent, or you could also send us an email. Sometimes when there's like name changes or stuff like that, it doesn't get connected to your account here at A&M. So try those options. If not, just send us an email to the success center at tamu.edu. So we could try and figure it out, because sometimes it is an issue with processing and through the test maker's website that they didn't connect your file with your names correctly.
Okay. For the MPE, does a student need to know which one that they will take, or will it automatically assign them to which one they
I
need?
Yes, I do regret not saying this in my chat. So when you sign into Canvas, it will automatically sort you into the MP that you're supposed to be taking. So you do not need to go choose one. The only exception was one of our friends who asked about biomedical sciences. There are a couple of majors that give you the full gamut of options for math classes. And for them, they will be placed in both communities and will get to choose. So you don't have to make the right choice, meaning you don't have to choose the one that applies to you. If you are forced to take one, it will be forced upon you. The only options are for, I believe, biomedical sciences, and then people who are on blend team who haven't yet declared a major and are coming into the university a little looser, they get to choose as well. But you will not have to choose unless it is one of those two options.
Thank you. And then Alicia, I know you said this before, but because there were a bunch of questions about it for the chemistry prep modules, in terms of having AP credit or dual credit, general chem 1 or 2, does that exempt them from taking those CPMs or ability to test out of that Chem 119, or will they still need to do that?
So it's kind of a complicated answer. Is if you have AP credit or dual credit and you accept it so that you do not take Chem 119 here, then you do not need to take the CPM. But a lot of times advisors suggest that students take Chem 119 here, or especially if you are pre-professional, if you're trying to get into pre-med or pre-vet, a lot of times it's suggested that you take it here. And if you are going to take Chem 119 here, regardless of your experience with chemistry, it is suggested to complete the chemistry prep module.
Awesome. And then we had a question come in, and I know you mentioned it about Canvas. Can students access their Canvas account right now, or is that
I was
something
just
else
typing a
wait?
response. Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody who tries right now is going to get an error that says that they don't exist, that their UIN doesn't exist. That's because you really won't be added until that month before window. We're not trying to gatekeep it from you or anything. It's just that we can't flood the system with every incoming student until everyone has accepted their admission offer and those MPUs are ready to go. So it will become available at that 1 month mark.
Okay. And then this next question, I'm not sure if it applies to the chemistry prep modules or the MPE, so maybe both of you could answer this. Is there any difference for engineering at Blinn when it comes to those requirements?
Does that mean I don't think I quite understand. So if students are on Blinn team, which is a little bit different than just separately attending Blinn, if you're on Blinn team, then you will be going through the same degree plan that all of the students at A&M are. You're just taking those courses at another campus. But if you enroll at Blinn separately, then you'll be counted as a transfer student, so you'll fall under the transfer student criteria for us.
Right. I'm not sure about that one for the chemistry prep module. But since it's not a registration hold, it's not something that I don't know, I would be too concerned about for those exceptions.
Okay. Um, so we know there's a practice exam for the MP on the website. There's only one. Will more be available prior to the MP, or is that the only one?
No, really, that's the only one. I will say the Virtual Math Learning Center has hundreds of resources. So we give you one practice exam to give you an idea of the content that's covered. If you find that one of the topics is especially confusing to you, there's an entire series called the Algebra series that's probably going to be helpful for most of those, where you can click through the categories and find topics that are beneficial to you. But there's really only one test, and then you can go seek the other resources if you need them.
Awesome. Um, Sorry, I'm just scrolling through questions. For the MPE, do students need to register for a date and time to take the MPE?
No, you will be automatically placed and be able to take it at your own convenience.
Okay. Um, what if a student arrives at their NSC and has not completed their MPE? Will they have time to complete it during the program?
Um, I guess not while you're sitting in the room with an advisor. No, you can wake up early in the morning and spend 90 minutes taking your exam and then go to your NSC and be able to register. The tricky part there is that's not going to sync quickly into your Howdy portal. So your advisor will probably ask you to pull up your Canvas and show your score or something like that. It just will not remove the hold on your account quite yet. What usually happens in those instances is they go ahead and register you for the lower level courses. For Math 150, Math 150 is not on any degree plans. It's a kind of leveling course to get into those other calculus courses. For Math 140, it can be on a lot of degree plans, so that's a little bit different of a scenario. But if you do not have the MP completed when you get there, you will not be able to register for any calculus courses or above.
Okay. Are all of the placement exams available on Canvas, or is it just the MPE that's administered through Canvas?
The chemistry placement exam is not. That one will not be on Canvas. Anna, you?
No, yeah. So the TSI is only administered at testing centers by like Texas A&M Testing Center, but there is not enough time during your new student conference session to test. So test the day before, but not during the conference.
This may have not been asked, but it's been asked a lot in our emails from between Anna and I. So also, if you take the TSI, that does not exempt you from taking MPE. They are fully separate exams and fully separate processes. So you do have to do both. It is not a one takes over the other or anything like that.
Okay. Does a high score on the MPE mean a student has tested out of a math class and will receive college credit for that course?
Such a good question. No, it does not. What we are measuring is if you're ready to step into a calculus course. It does not give you credit for any sort of pre-calculus courses before that. It just tells us that your knowledge is ready to walk into a Calculus 1 course and we feel like you'll be successful. So it does not give you any credit for any courses. It just tells us you're ready to start a new course.
Thank you. Anna, if a student is an out-of-state student, does the TSI apply to them?
It does. If you have an exemption, you can send that. But if you do not have one, then you could set up a remote test through Zoom. Or if there's like a college nearby, you could set up a voucher remote system. But you do have to call the testing center to set it up. The testing center number is 979 845 0532, 979-845-0532. If you test at A&M or with that voucher, the scores come directly to me, to us, so they'll be put in as soon as we get them, and I can take off the hold manually once we get the scores. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. For the chemistry prep modules, should I complete the modules now if I am not planning on taking Chem 119 during my first semester?
Good question. So I would suggest completing the chemistry prep module before your NSC just in case. If you do not register for Chem 119 in your first semester, we can still reference your former score from the CPM if you register in a later semester, and you'll be able to access it again if you wanted to review.
Awesome. And then for the foreign language placement exam, what does that test cover?
Test will have a lot of different features to it. There are a few languages that it will have included. So you can take Arabic, Chinese, French, German, Japanese, Italian, Latin, Spanish, and Russian. So there are plenty to choose from, but I also know it's just to dip your toe in the water into the plethora that is genuinely out there. But all exams will have both a reading and grammar component, but the structures of the test may differ a little bit. They can have a combination of multiple choice and written questions, while other exams may have an essay portion with it.
All right. I believe that's all the time we have for questions tonight, so I'm going to pass it back over to Olivia.
Perfect. Y'all had some really great questions, and please keep those questions coming. We want to make sure that you have all your questions addressed. If our panelists want to drop an email address or a website our panelists or participants can go to keep asking their questions to you, that would be wonderful. You can do that directly in the chat feature, just making sure that it is sent to everyone and not just hosts and panelists. That way we can keep people connected and keep that conversation going. But as we continue through this process, I do want to thank you all for your time. I really do appreciate all of you being here today and for spending the time with us to learn a little bit more about the placement exams of Texas A&M and the ones that you might be expected to complete. We will have another session hosted on April 16th at 5:30 and ending at 6:30 p.m. For anybody who is interested in learning a little bit more about our next session, which is going to be Ready, Set, Register, Clearing Holds. So we are excited to have another one of those sessions. We have already done one of those in February, and so if you aren't able to make that date and time, you can definitely look at our recorded session online, and we will be able to have that available here soon. Corey can post in the chat where you can find our recordings of these sessions so you can reference back to them. These sessions do require pre-registration. You can do so by going to text.ag/new Aggie series. Our April 16th session will be the last session of the new Aggie series for us before we kick off new student conference season. We are excited to have you all here. We thank you for your time. And I believe that is honestly all that we have. You can take a picture of this slide with our contact information. If you didn't happen to write down any of the colleagues' contact information that is on this call, you can feel free to contact us and we'll make sure that you get to the correct person to get your questions answered. Other than that, we really do appreciate your time and appreciate you being around with us today. Thanks.